Good afternoon, everyone. And as people start to filter in, thank you all for joining us for the Personal Branding Workshop for Emerging Museum Professionals. We are pleased to have you join us and take part in today's session. And I want to give a quick plug about an initiative that NEMPN is doing this year, which is that we've created a free government outreach webpage to help professionals connect with government officials to voice their concerns about the field. You can reach that by scanning the QR code that is on the center of the current slide or by going to the website. The resource allows you to directly reach out to your elected representatives and policymakers, providing language and guidance on that. Sharing your personal story, concerns, and recommendations can influence decision making. And we hope that you will take this opportunity during Museum Workers Advocacy Day to speak out. With that, I will hand it over to Mike to introduce our presenter today.
Thanks so much, Jenna, and thank you all for being here today. Hayden Karotis is a social media and digital marketing consultant with over 15 years experience, and is also a talented storyteller and longtime advocate for digital upskilling and GLAM institutions. He's worked with over 300 arts and culture organizations over the years, including Google Arts and Culture and Bloomberg Philanthropies. He was a tech champion in Arts Council England, and in 2022 was a guest lecturer at the Royal Academy of Arts Executive Master Program. So a really impressive resume there. So thank you for being with us here today, Hayden, and I'll let you take it from here to show us a bit about what intentional reputation building looks like and means, and how we can cultivate that practice as emerging museum professionals.
Yeah, brilliant, thank you. So let me just get my screen up. Hopefully everybody can see my screen. So what will happen now is I won't be able to see you all, so please forgive me. There we go, perfect, okay. Hi everybody, hope everybody's well, and I know it's been a day full of great sessions. So this is the last one today, so hopefully I can give you some energy and give you some food for thought to take into your evening. So thanks for that lovely kind of intro there from Mike. I won't have to go too much about my history, but yes, I am a social media and digital marketing consultant who likes to help arts and culture organizations with their digital transformation or building their social media strategies or building their communication strategies. What I want to say about today is, especially for social media and just in general, I want you to feel like you can engage with me. So if you do have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. I will answer as many as possible. And if I don't get around to it, please do feel free to just drop me a message on LinkedIn or to send me an email. I'm always happy to try and answer questions where I can as well and support people in the sector, especially when they're trying to build a career or a network. And then finally, this is a completely safe space. There is no such thing as a silly question. There's no such thing as a stupid question. We only know what we know. So therefore, if you have any questions or if you don't feel like you can't put something in the chat because you think, oh, everybody should know this, there's no such thing as that everybody knows everything. So feel free to kind of get that in the chat away. Okay. So without further ado, I'll get started. So what we can expect today, I'm going to really kind of look at what personal branding means and reframing what that meaning means to arts and culture organizations and professionals, because often when people hear that term, they do kind of feel like it's a loaded term, and sometimes they frown at the wording. So that's the first thing we're going to start with. Then we're going to look at how you can set a direction for yourself, and how you can create a statement or a brand statement or a mission statement or ethos, whichever terms you want to use for it, that will give you a foundation to kind of really kick off on and really set what it is you're about and what you want to be known for. Then we're going to look at audiences and what platforms you show up on. And then finally, we're going to look at content pillars and how you can kind of think about what messaging you want to put out and what that content looks like for you. And then challenge yourself. Give yourself 90 days to see, can you really execute this? And the secret to this is you definitely can. It's definitely in your hands. Okay. So before we start, hopefully everybody's been able to download the worksheet. Just let me know in the comments if you haven't. There should be a pinned comment there that has a worksheet. Please make a copy of that and don't kind of fill in that particular worksheet. Make a copy of that. And then what I want you to do with this worksheet is just use it as a way to kind of jot down ideas and answers to some of the questions that we're going to do within this presentation. So I asked you quite a few. There's about 7 or 8 different tasks I'll set you. We'll set about 2 minutes for each task. So it's not going to be, you're not going to spend loads of time on it. But what I want you to be able to do is just to write down some answers and the thoughts that you have in that moment, because those are normally the right answers, or the direction that you really want to go in. And then afterwards, after the fact, when we finish, you can then go away and kind of really build it out and make it align with whatever it is you want to do or whatever it is you want to achieve. Okay. So I'm going to start with this video from Oriel Demerson. Now, I met him, Oriel, through LinkedIn. Actually, I met him on LinkedIn. I use LinkedIn quite a lot. LinkedIn is, you'll hear me refer back to it quite often. It's my favorite platform. And I came across Oriel, or he came across my content, and then we started talking on LinkedIn, etc., etc. And then he posted this really incredible video, which I thought really sums up personal branding and how people can feel about it and the direction that we're going to go in this conversation. So I'm going to play this video, and then I'll be right back on the other side.
Can Gary Vee change my mind on personal branding? I'm on my way to the LinkedIn studio in New York City for a live interview recording with Gary Vee. If you don't know Gary Vee, he's like a digital marketing guru, and he's gonna talk about a topic that I'm kind of allergic to: personal branding. Elias, what's your personal brand?
You're putting me on the spot right now. I don't know what my personal brand is.
That's exactly how I feel. If anyone asked me what my personal brand is, I would not know what to say. And I would be embarrassed about it, like I didn't do my homework or something. Now I see Cayman here. He's a creator manager here at LinkedIn, and he works directly with Gary Vee. So let's see how he answers this tricky question. I have a quick question for you.
Sure.
What is your personal brand?
What is my personal brand? It feels super weird. I know how important it is to have a personal brand, but all of my energy every single day is like going towards everyone I work with. So
so your personal brand is helping others build their personal
own brand. Yeah.
Okay, that's cool.
A box inside of a box, or something like that.
My main problem with the idea of personal branding is that it just doesn't feel personal. And most of the advice that I've heard on the topic seems superficial and vague. Hopefully today I hear something different. So as you can see, Gary's right there with his whole crew, and the live is starting in 20 minutes, I think.
How are you? Good to see you.
I'm actually looking forward to see what Gary has to say in a minute here, because I've been shying away from this topic, but obviously I have a lot to learn. 2 minutes into the interview and I was already hooked. What got me was when Gary Vee reframed the idea of personal branding. He said what it's really about is your professional reputation.
And that is the perfect place to stop, because that's what we're going to really focus on. We're going to take it away from the idea of trying to create. We're not curators, you're not influencers, you're not content creators. You're trying to manage your professional reputation. Okay, so that's what it's really about. It's about how can you take control of what you're known for? How can you take control about what people in professional space know your work for, know your name for, what mention you in the rooms that you're not in, because of the fact that you've got a reputation that you've started to control and tailor. Now, the definition of personal branding, I like to do definitions to everything, so everybody's kind of playing from the same page. Everybody's on the same page of what we're trying to look for. And the Oxford Dictionary reference for personal branding is defined as the construction and promotion by an individual of their own public image, often through social media. So that's kind of what I want to combine the two worlds today. Because realistically, what we're trying to do is find how to manage your professional reputation online. What does that look like? How do we manage our professional reputation online? And hopefully that's what we're going to go through today. And that you'll be able to, when you finish this session, you'll be able to walk away with for framework and an idea of what that looks like for you as an individual. So why does it matter? That is the big question. First of all, it allows you to become more strategic. It allows you to become, it allows you to build trust. It allows you to build trust. It allows you to build trust in what you're trying to do and what you're trying to get across and what you're trying to say to your audiences. It allows you to enhance your career progression. So when people see your work, or when people get an understanding of what you're about or what you stand for, they can connect that with your work and say, okay, I want to reach out to this person because they're influential in this space, or because they're an authority in this space, or because they have an understanding of this subject matter that is relevant to my organization, to a seminar we're doing, to a talk we're doing, etc., etc. And it can enhance your professional reputation within your organization. the more that you become known for a subject matter within your space or within your organization, the easier it is for them for you to be first of mind when it comes to thinking about promotions within that space, or when it comes to thinking about special projects within that space, because of the fact that people know that this is where you have a passion for, this is what you're good for, this is where you have authority in. So these are some of the top reasons why creating that, controlling your professional reputation is so important. But before we get even into that, there's one question that we all have to know before we even start building out this professional reputation. Is where are we going? If you don't know where you're going, how can you build a brand around it? If you don't know what direction you're trying to go in, how can you start anything at all? So this is not about absolutes. It's about giving yourself a direction of travel. It's about understanding that, okay, I might not know the journey completely, and I might not be able to see a clear path to it, but I know that I want to end up here. Because without understanding where you're going, it makes it very difficult for you to even start to think about what to talk about, or start to think about who you should be talking to, or start to think about what kind of information you should be sharing about yourself in the first place. So we're going to come to our very first task. So on your sheet, you should see this very same writing. And I want you to just really imagine, what is it you'd like to be in the next 1 to 2 years? Where is it you want to go in those next 1 to 2 years? So what would you like to be? A marketing consultant. You might want to be known for creating the best-in-class storytelling within arts and culture sector. You might want to be working towards a promotion, or working towards writing a book, or working towards owning your own consultancy or business within the arts sector. Maybe you want to be doing more charity work, or maybe you want to be doing more curatorial work. Whatever that may look like for you, what does that look like for you in the next 1 to 2 years? And what I want you to do is just write down 1 to 2 sentences max. Keep it very loose. Don't have not polished. Just give yourself a direction of what that might look like for you. And we're going to be very quick on this. Only 2 minutes tops. Okay. So now that you've kind of really thought about what that looks like for you, where you're kind of going, what direction you want to go in, you want to be able to have a foundation to kind of really hang that hook on. You want a foundation that you could say, okay, this is what I'm going to build off of. And this is where kind of crafting your brand statement really comes in handy. So what does that look like? So a brand statement is one of the most powerful tools for you to be able to kind of understand and to navigate your professional journey, especially if you're trying to go into leadership, or if you're trying to be a voice within a specific community or sector. Then having a clear clarity on what you want to do, where you want to go, what you're about is really, really important. Because like I said, it acts as a foundation, and it acts as a way for you to be able to make decisions about who you connect with, what audiences you connect with, what opportunities you take, what opportunities you turn down, because you have a solid foundation to jump off of. So what are some of the things it does? It gives you clarity. So it allows people to understand who you are, who you serve, what impact you might be able to make, what drives you. So for example, I like to say I'm a social media consultant, social media or digital marketing consultant who serves arts and culture professionals. The impact I make is that I help them with their digital transformation, their social media strategies, their content strategies. And what drives me is that I find it super, super important that arts and culture organizations embrace the ability to tell stories online and to tell their stories digitally. That's my passion point for it. So that's kind of like my brand statement, my kind of go-to, and the kind of thing that makes me think about when what kind of defines what I'm talking about when I'm online. So I want you to kind of really think about what you're going to do and what that means to you. So your brand statement also controls your narrative. So what this basically means is your personal brand already exists. There's already people out there who think one way about you or another. So it's up to you to have some say in what that looks like. You have control over it. If you don't define your brand, others will do it for you. So that's another reason why a brand statement is there, to give you that jump off point for you to allow you to kind of say, this is what I'm about, and all of the information I put out about me is based on this brand statement. It builds consistency across platforms. So what do I mean by that? When you're thinking about what you're going to post, or if you're pitching for a project, or if a speaking engagement comes around, because you know what you're about and what you stand for, this is what your brand statement can really help you do, and really help you kind of align your thinking, align your work, and align what you tell people. Now, a brand statement doesn't necessarily have to be out in the public. It could just be for you, but it needs to be reflected in your bio. It needs to be reflected in the kind of messaging that you put out there. And then finally, it can really connect you to the right audiences. So what I mean by this is that when you're posting or sharing information about your career or the things that excite you or your passion points in a way that can add value to others, and people are drawn to that. People who think in a similar way, people who like the work you're doing, and people who like your approach to a subject matter, they tend to be drawn to you. And then therefore, you know, when they come to you, they're coming to you with the right energy and with the right kind of collaborations. Funders will believe in your vision because they can see already that you have something that you talk about. They can go to your platform and see almost as like social proof that you are indeed in the communities you say you are. You are indeed an expert in the information you talk about because of the fact that you've got this digital footprint basically of who you are and what you stand for and what you believe in and what your passion points are. As the saying goes, build it and they will come. So we're on to task 2 already. We're flying through it. Task 2, I want you to really think about creating your own brand statement. Now, again, as I said on the previous task, you don't have to sit there and write and complete a complete brand statement straight away. All I want you to do is just kind of write down some ideas that are coming to you as we speak. Whatever's percolating in your mind right now, I want you to write those ideas down and jot them down in and around that part of the worksheet, so that you can come back to it when we're finished and really build it out. Okay, but understand that it should reflect your professional identity, your values, and your impact. It should be clear, specific, authentic, and as memorable as humanly possible. Okay. What your brand statement will look like was something like this. So I am a social media consultant who helps arts and culture organizations to help with their digital transformation or social media content strategies. I am driven by my passion for the arts and culture sector and digital storytelling. Just as a very quick example. So I want you to think about what that looks like for you. And again, I'm going to give you only 2 minutes. So we're not going to spend too much time on this. I'm going to give you 2 more minutes and then we'll go again. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just need to write down your ideas that will give you something to jump off of once you come back to it. Think about how it connects to your goals or what we kind of the directions you want to go about. You want to think about how there's the synergy between the two. Okay. So now we're going to look at audiences. So we've already thought about the direction we're going in. We've thought about how we're going to tell our story and what the foundation is for us to achieve that direction. Now we want to think about who are we actually speaking to. Yes, who we're speaking to and what that looks like. Okay. Now I love this quote from Dale Carnegie. It says, "You can make more friends in 2 months by becoming interested in other people than you can in 2 years by trying to get other people interested in you." And this is a really good way to think about your approach to connecting with audiences, because what you're trying to do is think about how can you present information that you're passionate about, that one, you're learning from, and 2, the audiences can learn from as well. So if you're passionate about it, are you sharing information that is some of the cutting news? Are you sharing your point of view on things that are happening within that space? Are you sharing your point of view, then also demonstrating that your point of view is valid by your own personal work? So how are you doing these things? How are you providing the value that will be of interest to other people within the space, interest to the people who you want to be in front of, interested to the communities you want to be in? So why would you like to grow your audience intentionally? The first thing you've got to think about is clarity on who you're speaking to. This is what happens when you understand the audience you're choosing. When you know who it is you're looking for and the audiences you're directly trying to connect with, it makes it easier for you to really think about the messaging you're putting out and what content that will actually resonate with the audience, because you have a clear picture of who it is you're trying to speak to. Instead of guessing, you understand what your audience values are, what they may struggle with, what they aspire to do. And then you can start to find those sweet spots between where you can create content that adds value to these people, where you can create, share information that is insightful to an audience or insightful to a community. And then making your messaging feel like a mirror to your ideal audience. What this basically means is when your audience sees your content or sees your messaging, or they see the things that you put out, they see themselves. They can reflect in that. They can say, yes, that's stuff I've been thinking about. Oh, that's an interesting point of view. I've never thought of it like that. Or they can see things that make them tick. So that's what you're kind of thinking about, and that becomes a lot easier when you know the kind of audiences you're trying to connect and audiences you're trying to reach or trying to get in front of. So it can help you be more strategic with the content you create. So it saves you time because it increases the impact of the information you're putting out there, because you know who you're trying to put it out there for. And the fact that you know who you're putting out there for means that there's more than likely to be someone else who's of interest of that content or interested in that information. So they're more likely to follow and engage with you because there's a consistency to the messaging that's coming out from your page. There's a value to it. When there's a value to it, that means that it makes it a lot easier for it to be shared, for people to want to save it, for people to want to act on it. And it also means that you stop creating for everybody. You start creating for audiences that actually make sense and that believe in you, and you kind of start to build this trust and an authority within a space. And what it basically does is you're now thinking in a way that is called empathy mapping. You're creating a strategic content in a way that is where you're empathizing with your audience. So what does empathy mapping look like? What does that look like? It basically means it helps you kind of create content that allows you to think like your audience. So what are their motivations? What are their pain points? It helps you design messaging and stories or content or share information that directly speaks to their experience, that directly speaks to what they're looking for, that directly speaks to what could be of interest to them. It moves beyond surface level demographics. And what I mean by this, you're not just saying, okay, I'm trying to reach people between the age of 13 to 25 to 45, for example. Now you're saying, okay, I want to reach fellow arts marketeers. I want to reach arts marketeers who maybe have been put in a position that wasn't there naturally, and the role kind of fell in their lap. So they don't maybe have all of the strategic knowledge they might need. So that's the audience I'm trying to reach. So you start to think more about the personas of what these people, what your audiences are looking for, which allows you to create more content or more narrative or create more posts that are relevant to people. And it helps you fill in the relevant gaps. And then it gives you focused alignment and creates new opportunities. So what do I mean by this? It means you can attract aligned clients, collaborators, and platforms. So for example, like if you look at a platform like Museum Next is a cultural platform that does loads of different webinars and conferences about a whole spectrum of museum related subject matters. If you're posting stuff about sustainability, for example, as a curator, or maybe if you're posting stuff about AI or if you're posting stuff about I don't know, whatever your passion point may be, people will start to see it and say, okay, yes, I know this person is passionate about that. I know they've got an authority about that. I know they've got really good takes on this. Let me get them to speak on my platform. Let's work with them. Let's collaborate with them. When your message speaks directly to audiences, they're more likely to engage and recommend you and invite you into spaces. So I'll give you a perfect example of this. The reason why I first created this whole platform, this kind of branding workshop, was because someone recommended me from the stuff I posted on LinkedIn. Somebody recommended me to the Claw leadership team about creating a workshop around branding for leaders, for arts and culture leadership, because someone had seen the work that I do on LinkedIn. So the more that you put out information that seems valid, that seems of authority, that shows that you understand the subject matter, the more that people will start to recommend you and say to you, yes, I'd love you to connect on this project or work on this project. Makes pitching, networking, or applying for opportunities much easier. You're clear on your value and who it's for. This is another great example. So I remember I went to the MCN conference last year, and at the MCN conference, I bumped into a lady named Andrea. Andrea said, "Oh, I've seen your work online, and I love the stuff you're doing around your mentorship program. We'd love to connect." And from me connecting with Andrea, we now have a mentorship program that we're going to launch in June. And that just came from her seeing my work online. So I say all this to say that opportunities can come from the stuff that you're putting online, even when you think people aren't watching, even if you think people who don't even see it. I'd never met Andrea before. I didn't know her before I went to MCN, but she saw my work, she recognized me, and we had a great conversation, which allowed us now to create a platform almost a year later. But who is your ideal audience? So what I want you to do now, I want you to think about who your ideal audience is. So again, looking on your worksheet, I want you to take a few minutes and just write down a list of no more than 3 potential audience groups. What group of people or communities come to mind first? Who do you think you want to connect with about what your passion points are, or about what it is that you feel the direction you want to go with in your career? And again, we're going to go 2 minutes, not too long. Just going to give you enough time to just kind of really jot down some ideas and then come back to it. Okay, let's go. Remember, try and connect it to all of the other ladders we've used so far. So think about who your audience is. Think about what your goals are. Think about what you've put in your brand statement. Think about how those all connect to the right audiences. So now we're going to look at where you should show up and what you kind of say when you show up. So what are the platforms that you can use to actually connect to the right audiences, to share your message in the first place? So how do you pick your platform? First of all, you need to really think about, what are you good at? What are the skill sets that you have, or the skill sets that you believe you can develop that will help you tell your story or share your messaging or communicate in the best way? So are you really good at writing? Maybe you're a visual person, so you're good at creating videos, or maybe you're good at photography and taking imagery and stuff like that. Or what are the skill sets you have that will allow you to tell your story in the best way? Then you want to think about the social media platform. What are the platforms, or not even the social media, any platform, what are the digital platforms that best align with your skill set? So what are the platforms that have the features that best align with your skill set? Let's say, for example, you're someone who likes to write, who likes to be quite detailed in your messaging, you might want to get a blog, or you might want to use a platform like LinkedIn over a platform like Instagram, for example. Let's say you're someone who's more visual. Maybe you want to use a platform like Instagram and TikTok rather than LinkedIn. Just really think about where your skill sets align. And then thirdly, when you thought about those first two parts, which of those platforms have the audience that you're looking for, have the people in front, have the people that you want to connect with, and they're visibly on those platforms? Now, what I would say to that is, there are 5.6 billion people currently using social media platforms, the different social media platforms. And I also say to that I promise you, there's 100, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, 1 million people out there who will love whatever it is your speciality is, wherever it is your interest is. They will share the same passion points. Literally this week, I came across an Instagram page which is about marshmallows. How you cook different marshmallows, and it's marshmallows on a stick, and they've got 100,000 followers about different types of marshmallows and how you can roast the marshmallow. That's all the page is about. And it's got 100,000 people who are interested and who love marshmallows enough to follow that page. So I say that to say that there's very, very few subjects in the world that you won't be able to find a community for, that you won't be able to find an audience for, that you won't be able to find people who share your passions. So what are your realistic options? You've got the social media platforms. So you've got places like Blue Sky, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. You've got newsletter platforms and blog platforms and newsletter places like Substack, or if maybe you're someone who built a subscription list, or maybe MailChimp, etc. Then you've got alternative platforms. Now I put YouTube in there because it's a good platform for monetization. But again, there's other platforms like Discord or WhatsApp where you can create different communities that work for you. But you just have to be clear about what these platforms mean. So the benefits of the social media side of things is that the social media platforms are visual. 9 out of 10 times you can do pretty much all of the things on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, across all of those platforms. You can share photos, you can share videos, you can write long form content if you so wish. You can be detailed with your storytelling. There's already a reach there because there's already X amount of people on across all those different platforms. From a network standpoint, you're likely to be able to find other people who are in your network, or find other people who are in the communities that you want to engage with already on these platforms. And as I kind of touched on, there's a million different features that are really beneficial. From a negative standpoint, the algorithm can be punishing for those who don't really understand it. It's a pay to play. So what that basically means is, if you want to grow super, super fast, unless you're really tapped into to culture and algorithm, then it makes it very hard to grow exponentially at a really rapid rate, unless you're really tapped in that sense. So there might be pay to play in the sense that you have to pay for paid ads and for social media ads, etc., to kind of get in front of the audiences you want to. And then moderation, like how you moderate your page, can sometimes be detrimental if you're not creating the right kind of imagery or the right kind of platform or the right kind of moderation, or using the features correctly to get in front of the right people on that platform. Then they've got newsletters and stuff of that nature. So the benefit for these are that you're speaking directly to your audience. So you get control of them. If you've got 100 subscribers on your newsletter, when you send that newsletter out, it goes to 100. It goes to the 100 people. It's long form content. If you're someone who prefers writing or being more detailed or sharing more information, this could be the spot for you. You control your audience. You build your community, so you have a lot more control over what they see and how you engage with them. If you're someone who sells a product, then obviously you can use it for a sales funnel and sell them a product or sell them a service or sell them an item, whatever that may be for you. From a negative standpoint, it's very hard to be discovered. If these platforms only really work if you have other platforms to kind of supplement them, or you've got a really engaged community. It's time intensive to build them and to build that community, because there's no algorithm, because there's no because your content is not being actively distributed. It can be hard to be found. So that means it's slower growth. And then again, looking at these alternative platforms, you have stuff like monetization. You have more control over your communities. You have more control over what information they see, what they don't see, when they see it, etc. From a negative standpoint, again, it's a lot of time, a lot of limited reach. Outside of YouTube on these two, so YouTube is in there because, again, the monetization and the community side of things. But however, like platforms like WhatsApp or Discord, it's time consuming. You have to be openly moderating those platforms. You have there's limited reach because there's not much amplification outside of the particular groups. So there's all pluses and negatives for all of these different platforms, but it's about you understanding what makes the most sense for you based on what you're trying to achieve. I can't stress this enough, and I hope you all, wherever you are in the US right now, I want you to say it out loud with me. Don't be everywhere, be intentional. I really mean that. You don't have to be everywhere, especially when you're starting off. Start off with a platform that makes the most sense for you based on some of the things we've touched on already, based on where your audience is, based on what your skill set is, based on the features of the platform, based on how you like to turn up and how you like to articulate yourself or communicate. Really focus on that platform. Let that be your home. For me, I'm on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is the only platform I'm actively active on. I use a few other platforms, but more just to browse. I'm not super engaged in. LinkedIn is the platform for me, which has been super transformative for my career, for my professional life, for my earning potential. All of those things have all come from LinkedIn. So task, I think this is task number 6 or 7. I'm not even sure what task number this is. I want you to choose your platform now. So write down 1 to 2 platforms you could use to reach your audience for. And for each, I want you to note down why this platform makes sense to you. What type of content could you realistically create on this platform? Now, you don't need to be everywhere, as it says. Start with what feels manageable and build it from there. So what are those 1 or 2 platforms that make the most sense to you? And again, with this one, I'm not even going to give you 2 minutes. I'm going to give you 90 seconds with this one. We got a question? Nope.
Yeah, actually, I figure while folks are working on this in this 90 seconds, we have a question in the chat from Wing. It's how can you tell when an audience is oversaturated? Do you have any tips on how to pivot or recognize the signs of oversaturation?
I go back to what I said before. I don't think there is such a thing as oversaturation. And what I mean by that, especially on social media, you're always gonna be you. So as long as you're thinking about what it is that's important to you and what information you want to get across and how you tell that story, there's never going to be another version of you. So if there's no point in you not starting something because you think, oh, there's too many people in this space. People have success all the time. I'll give you an example of a cultural organization who they've just been nominated for a Webby. So the Wright Museum have just been nominated for a Webby Award because they started to make content around their organization, but like little sitcom videos about their organization. Content's done really well, and within the space of 3 months, they've gained hundreds of thousands of followers. They're not the first people to do that. They're not the first people to make the kind of humor they did, but they did it in a way that made sense to them because there's only one Wright Museum. They tapped into their ethos, they tapped into their culture, they tapped into who they are, and that's how they generated their success. And that's how you can build. That's how you can build in that way. In today's social media landscape, one thing I would say is that social media it's not really social media anymore. It is, again, from Gary Vee, it's interest media. So if you can have 100 followers or 500,000 followers, if you create something that's interesting, the algorithm will push it and people will find it and you can go viral or you can blow up or you can be seen or whatever that looks like for you. But from a personal branding standpoint, remember, you're not a content creator. You're not trying to be a content creator, and you're not trying to be a influencer. You're trying to be somebody who's controlling your narrative, who's letting the world know this is what I talk about and this is what I connect about. And when you do that with authenticity, when you connect and really look about how you provide value, that's what will draw people into you. That's what will draw clients into you. That's what will get you recognition. I hope that helped. All right, we've got 10 seconds left, and then we'll go on. Perfect. Okay. So now we're going to look at, we're coming into the final piece here. We're going to look at content pillars. Now, content pillars are done differently for everybody, but so as always, there's going to be a definition of how I define content pillars, and I'm going to show you how I do my content pillars. Now, it's up to you to think about what content pillars mean to you, and if you want to change that a little bit, that's totally fine. I'm just going to show you how I do them, okay? So what is a content pillar? Your content pillars help shape your narrative and give you strategic consistency. So it helps you. So we talked about that kind of frame with your brand statement. Now your content pillars is, how does your brand statement and your content pillars, how your content pillars bring your brand statement to life? So what are content pillars? A content pillar is a key theme or topic you want to focus on in your content and become known to your audience who are on social media. Most creators have a combination of several pillars that form the foundation of their content strategy. And this is the definition from Buffer, but I think perfectly aligns with what we're talking about today. So how they work. To me, you shouldn't have more than 4. I personally think it should be 3, but 3 or 4 as a maximum. The reason for this is that it helps keep what you're trying to talk about and what you're trying to get across focused and clean. So everybody can understand there's only 3 or 4 topics that you really really drill down on and tell stories about. Content pillars are not straitjackets. It doesn't mean that because you've got these content pillars that you now can't talk about anything else in the world. That's not what it means. It just means that you've got a foundation that the majority of your messaging will come from one of those 4 topics. But obviously, if you want to talk about something on an ad hoc basis, that's totally fine, and that just adds to your story and adds to what you're about. Consistency, because the fact that you've only got 3 or 4 core messages, that core themes that you talk about, it helps build that consistency. Everything we've talked about before, so audiences understand what you're about. People can see, people can recommend you because they know you're an authority in the subject matter, or you're really skilled at something in that space. So this is, for me, how content pillars should work. So this is how I build out my content pillars. So this is an example of my career. So for me, your content pillars need to have a purpose. So my purpose for me is increase my online network within the global arts sector. So that's the purpose of me even being online in the first place, and me even ever think about what I'm going to talk about. What's the lens this comes through? So the lens that comes through is that I talk about digital and social media strategies for the arts. So that's the kind of, I want to increase my online network within the global arts sector, and I'm going to do that by talking about digital and social media strategy within the arts. My pillars are my story. So my story means the work that I do. I share the work I've done or the journeys I've been on in my career, etc., etc. I talk about digital and social media and arts and culture sector, any wins I've had, any wins within the sector. The example I just gave you with the Wright Museum, for example, I shared information around people who are doing really good stuff within the space. And then I champion the community. So other arts and culture professionals who are doing really good work, I really believe should be seen. So people know that, oh, this is what this person's doing. Also, you can reach out to them. Within the arts and culture sector, I think it is the most friendly and easiest place to connect with people, where people will be willing to speak to you and willing to connect you and willing to share best practices with you. So, but if you don't know who they are, how do you connect? So that's something that I'm really passionate about. And then lastly, what is it amplified by? So anytime I put out content, I always want to make sure that my content or my messaging adds some form of value. Now, obviously, that's my perception of what value is, but I always want to make sure that there's a learning within my post. There's something that somebody can see my post and say, oh, I've got this piece of information from that post. If the post isn't self-serving, it's a post that normally adds some sort of value to the audience or to the reader. So this is how I create my content pillars. Now, this doesn't necessarily have to be the way you want to do it, but what you're going to definitely want to be able to do is be able to understand what your 3 or 4 core messages are and what that looks like to you, okay? So this is our last and final task, and I'll give you a bit more time for this because this one takes a bit more thinking. I want you to think about 3 or 4 pillars that best align with who you are and what you want to achieve in the next 6 to 12 months. I want you to think about, what do you care about? What do you notice that others don't? So what's that kind of insight that you have, or perspective that you have on insight that might be relevant to other people? What do people already come to you for? So what are you already known for in where you work, or amongst your friends groups, or what's your passion points? I want you to really kind of think about that. Then for task 2, I want you to think about the following 3 steps. What is the purpose of your content? What's the purpose of your messaging? What's the lens through which that purpose will be filtered through? What will it be amplified by? So I'm going to give you 5 minutes for this one, because I want you to kind of, again, just to jot down some notes and really think about this whole journey we've been on throughout this whole session, about what direction you're trying to go in, what your goals are, who your audience may be, what platforms you want to choose, and now you know those platforms, what's the messaging you want to get across? So I really want you to really think about this, because this will help give you that foundation. This will help give you that consistency. This will help give you a place when you maybe get stuck. Oh, I don't know what to talk about today. You can always just look back at your content pillars and be like, okay, I haven't spoken about this subject in a while, or let me go find out some information about some new arts and culture organizations and what they're doing. And if you don't know where to go and find this information, maybe it's not your passion point. But there are places. You can set out Google Trend alerts. You can make sure you're following other people in those spaces who you admire. So there's loads of different ways for you to find information that you can share and make it relevant to your audiences. Okay, so I'll give you 5 minutes, and then we will come back into the room.
Hayden, while folks are working on their worksheet, there's a couple more questions in chat. You mind fielding those in the interim? Does that work?
Yeah, let's go.
Awesome. So we have a question from Gabby. How can I put my personal brand out there for those who want to find it without compromising my personal value of not having a big public online presence or putting more time into advertising myself than doing the work I actually care about? Is something like an online portfolio blog that I update with work samples a good idea?
It's a good idea, but the one thing I would say to you is this. We're in a world now that unless you're really, really connected, or you're like the top of your field and everybody comes to you for that work, where it becomes increasingly difficult to stand out, or increasingly difficult to be known, unless you're talking about what your work is, or talking about what you stand for. Now, this is what we said at the beginning. This is why we want to reframe it from personal branding to reframe it to the idea of, I'm controlling the narrative about what I'm about, my professional reputation. When you're talking about your work, don't look at it from a standpoint of I'm bragging, or look at it from a standpoint of, this is my passion. I'm so passionate about this information, or so passionate about this work that I do. I just want to share how I found this insight. I want to share why I found this amazing. I want to share why I'm so proud of this piece of work that I've delivered, and what it means to me, or how I found out what kind of insights I can take from it that I can share with others. That's the kind of way that, if you can develop that muscle, it becomes easier for you to talk in a way that is, 1, adding value to the space you're in, and 2, position you as somebody who really understands that space. Now, if you're completely against being online digitally, it makes it very difficult for this to kind of resonate with you. And what the only other kind of aspect is, then you have to be as vocal as humanly possible within the communities that you are in. So if that means maybe you're doing talks online, you're doing conferences or things of that nature, or you've got a vocal presence within your organization or where you work for, and you're always kind of highlighting good best practices, or work in that work that's doing well, or you're leading projects, or you're suggesting projects, that can obviously work for you as well. But it becomes very difficult for anyone outside of the space to know what that means. And then what that then happens is, let's say, for example, you have a change of career path, or you decide that you want to leave that organization. There's no one knows about you. There's no network of that can help you grab the role that you're trying to grab, or find the space you want to grab. I'll give you an example. How I found my work, how I got my role at American Lights and Museums was when I moved to America. I started to connect with people who I thought would be relevant to me on LinkedIn. I connected with the director of my organization, Natanya, and throughout the time period, I was in America for about 12, 13 months. And then I created a post about Facebook and what some of their changes would mean for arts and culture organizations. And that post did quite well on my LinkedIn page. And I shared it with Natanya and said, this is a post that I think might be relevant to your organizations and all people who follow your page. Natanya gave me a call and said, let's have a conversation about it. I had jumped on a call with them, had a conversation with her about this post and what potentially, if I could potentially create some more content for the organization that way. And Natanya said to me, you know what, we're actually looking for a lead social role. Would you like to apply for it? So that role came about from the fact that I had something to showcase. I had stories to tell, and I had a proven track record, and then it allowed me to then be invited to kind of to go into the organization and to submit my resume and then going from there, for example. But I didn't know about the role. I didn't see the role. I would have known about it unless I don't know if I'd have come across the role unless they told me about it. So I say that to say that there's a purpose for you having an online presence. Now, if you don't feel comfortable posting 2, 3, 4 times a week, then don't do that. Post once, post twice, but make sure when you post, there's value to it so that people can get the value from it. Perfect. Okay. So now that we've done all that, it kind of goes back to what I was kind of touching on there earlier. Your future self is an acquired taste. And what I mean by that is that in order for you to build the person you want to be, or in order for you to kind of reach the levels that you want to go to, there's certain things you're going to have to do now that don't come naturally, that don't feel natural, and that it feels a bit awkward, or you feel a bit shy about, or it doesn't feel like it fits in with your personality. But in order for you to build to that space, you're gonna have to take certain actions, and you don't have to start fast, you know, and you can do that with time. You can let it compound and get better and better and better until it feels more natural. And that kind of ties into what I want to do next with the 90-day challenge. On your sheet, at the very end of it, there's a 90-day challenge that gives you different tasks and different things that you can try and apply for this 90 days to see how can I get into a rhythm that allows me to talk about my passion points, that allows me to add value to a community, that will allow me to then, let's be honest, maybe one, make more money for yourself and your family, position you to get a promotion within your organization, allow you to maybe write a book or create to do webinars or do sessions or conferences or things of that nature. See what that looks like. Try the 90-day challenge. See how you feel. And then we can go from there. It's in your hands, people. And that is it. I hope that has been useful. I heard there are questions, so I'm going to come back into the room in a couple minutes. And then we can answer some of the questions from there. Can't see everybody, but we'll see. Here we go. There we go. Okay, any questions?
The next question was from Hanadi. It's, how do you balance personal branding and applying for opportunities like residences when I'm not there yet? Should I focus on my platform and then when I'm ready, I start to look towards those applications, or can I do both at the same time?
I would personally do both at the same time. I wouldn't wait. And the reason why I say I wouldn't wait is that with residencies, we don't know if we're going to get it or if we're not going to get it. But what I would do when I'm thinking about things like that, I'm gonna look at if it was me personally, I'm gonna go look at all of the people who, one, have already done the residency, two, who are the lead programmers or people within the residency, and see what kind of information they're already communicating. I'm gonna try and connect with them on the different social media platforms. And I'm not gonna pester them or bugger them or anything like that, but I'm gonna see what they're interested in and see if I can add value to those conversations. I'm going to see so that I can build a connection with that person in the first place. If they post something that's relevant and I've got that insight into it, I'm going to share my insight on their post about it. I can tell you another example of when I was back in the UK, my very first social media role, I used to work for a marketing agency, and I approached the director and said, look, I can really help you with your social media. And the lady was like, oh, if you'd have came to me literally 2 weeks ago, we just got somebody in. It's a shame if you came to me 2 weeks ago, then you could have got it. I was like, okay, no problem. A few months went by, and every time I saw them post, I would still talk to them and connect to them, and I would reach out to them, etc., on different things, or if they said something relevant, I would connect with them. And then literally 3 months later, the same lady got back in contact with me and was like, oh, you know what? The person didn't work out. Can you come in for a conversation? And that's happened to me repeatedly just because of the fact that I've used my online and I've shown that I have an authority or understanding of a knowledge space, and I've kept in contact with people via these different social media platforms to build that communication in the first place. So you might not get the residency this year, and I don't know if you will or you won't, but then if you keep that contact up and you understand what they're doing, there's a great opportunity that they've seen you and they have more awareness of you, that it's easier for you to get that role another time.
I think that's great advice. Yeah, don't wait.
That was
Samantha
me.
asked, Samantha asked, can you discuss anonymous postings and how, if ever, would you put a face or a name to it? I know of some faceless accounts that do quite well. Is this a boundary that people set themselves, and should they?
So for me, faceless posting only works if you're trying to monetize. So if you're trying to monetize and you're not trying, that's more of a content creator for me. You're a content creator, you're creating photos because you're trying to monetize, and it's not impossible, but it makes it harder if you're not connected to a person or connected to a movement. If you're trying to monetize, then that's different. Then you can put a faceless post out and put as much content as humanly possible to drive communities, which then allows you to monetize it and allows you to make money from it. There are some posts that there's quite a few faceless financial. I'm quite big into FIRE, so financial independence, retire early. So I follow quite a lot of people who have faceless posts for that, for example, but they share a lot of value and they share a lot of information about themselves without saying who they are and where they are, etc., etc. So there are ways to do it, but I think it's a little bit harder to say it's a personal brand if it's completely faceless.
And then I see moderator. Do you have advice for building a cohesive public profile when a person is aiming for a career transition from one type of role or institution into a different one?
Definitely, yeah. I think that goes back to your passion points. What is it you're passionate about? So talk about the things you're passionate about. Follow people who are in the spaces or connect to people who are in the spaces that you want to be in and you want to work with. Again, I've got the reason I've got so many stories because these are the things that I've done myself. So I'm not everything. I'm just telling you things that have worked for me personally. So I'll give you another example. The very first business I ever started with when I was back in the UK was a DEI business. It was for arts and culture, but not for arts. Sorry, it was for I used to work in Adland and I've creative agency for creative agencies, and randomly it was Valentine's Day. I came across a LinkedIn page of my old mentor, and he was a black MD, a black marketing director at a creative agency. Now in London, he was a unicorn. That was such a rare thing to see when I first started out in Adland. So I just reached out to him on LinkedIn, like, incredible to see a black MD. I'm at this creative agency, and that's super inspiring. And I've seen some of your work. I love what you're doing. For about 6 months to a year, we went back and forth. I would share information with him, I'd send him things, etc., etc. And he would be like, "Yeah, great, I love that." And he'd connect, and we connected, and we just started to build a bit of rapport. He started a business, and he said, "Do you want to come along with me and help me with my business?" And because of him, it allowed me to start to do work with people like Disney, with Microsoft, and stuff that I would never have done in my own without me connecting with Ete. His name's Ete. So I say all that to say that connect with people from an authentic place. Engage with them. Don't just connect and then never say a word to them. Engage with them. Like, see if they're posting something interesting, connect with it. Leave a comment on it. If you see something that might be relevant to them, share it with them. Connect with them. Build a real rapport, and you never know where those conversations can go.
That's great, and that speaks to me to some extent because I've personally worn a lot of different hats, and they're not related at all, from development to interpretation. So yeah, knowing where your passion is and not relying on your resume to tell you where you need to go, I think is so crucial. So thank you for saying that and for being here to speak with us. I'll turn it back over to Jenna. I don't see any other questions currently in the chat, but I don't know if she has additional ones.
Just came in. Building on the question about branding when looking to bridge interest, transition roles. I'm very much not the type of person to ever really lock in on one thing. So do you have any advice on highlighting all of my passions equally in a way that connects all of them?
So I think that would come down to your content pillars. So everybody, we're human, so we're multifaceted. We always have different layers of things that we enjoy and that we're passionate about. What you might need to do is to really spend some time about what is it about research, curating, physical design, and what is it about? Where's the through line with that? What's the aspects of it that actually really makes that really what you're really passionate about? And maybe it's all of that, but how do you, if it is all of that, how do you encompass that to say, okay, I'm an arts and culture professional who works within this space. And so because I work within this space, I enjoy talking about curation and physical design within curation and then the technology that goes into theater design. Where are those kind of threads that you want to pull together? And like I said, with content pillars, they're not something that you say, I can only speak about these and nothing else ever again. But they're just giving you a kind of foundation. So what I would look for is what are the foundational things you love talking about the most? And then you build, and then obviously when something comes up, you can add to that ad hoc as that goes. But you've got the foundation, so it gives you position to kind of be to be appreciated from. Or you might come from the angle of being honest. That my truth is that I like all these things, and that's what I'm going to talk about. How I go down a journey of I like all of these things, but they're all loosely arts related and within design focused. So this is what I focus on. But you're always honest about that narrative, so people can see, okay, she's about design. The person's about design focus, about design within arts and culture, and this is what they talk about. But you're sharing points of view that are interesting. You're sharing information. You're showing value. You're sharing your insights, or you're sharing brand new techniques, etc., etc.
Thank you. Are there any other questions for Hayden? Feel free to drop those in the chat. If nothing else, then yeah, we'll just extend our thanks to you, Hayden, for that wonderful presentation and sharing the resources with us. Thank you again, and have a wonderful rest of your evening.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for coming in.
Thanks, Hayden. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Yep.